Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about some very important information when it comes to the current debate in this country. If you are one of those people who is looking around saying, how are we ever going to stop this? Watch this video. Especially watch past the beginning, because you're not going to like the stuff at the beginning. But it's where everybody turns. Every time something like this happens, the debate goes to one place in particular, and everybody starts talking about magazines or the some vague description or specific model or something like that. None of that matters. None of it matters. Forget all about it. In fact, that's one of the reasons there's no forward movement. Because if you're focusing on stuff like that, you're missing the big picture. If you're focusing on trying to limit magazine size or the type of operation or the length of it or the cosmetic features of it, stuff like that, you've missed the point. It's not going to change a thing. I know somebody's going to say, well, it's always this particular rifle. That's the most popular rifle in the United States. That's why it's always that one. Okay. So because I said this and said, well, focusing on specific types isn't going to do any good, I'm sure there's somebody out there saying, well, let's just take them all. Okay, let's just do this from a logistic standpoint. One a minute. You are getting one gun off the street every minute of every day. How long do you think it'll take? 5 years? 10? 20? Since this conversation is prompted by these incidents, let's do it a different way. If a child was born today, how old would their headstone be if they lived to be 100? And the answer to that is more than 500 years old. If you were taking one gun off the street every minute of every day, it would take more than 600 years to get rid of them. That's how many guns are in the U.S. When you start talking about confiscation, you are not talking about things that are logistically practical. It's not impossible, but that's not going to happen. Not in a time frame that will matter. By the time that occurs, we'll still be sitting here arguing what types of backpacks are best to stop the lasers. That's not a solution. In the United States, Pandora's box is opened. They're everywhere. Going that route it will take hundreds of years. Even if you were to just focus on certain types or those that are, just adamant and violent in their response, you're still talking about 100 years or more. I think we can do better than that. Rather than looking at the firearms, look at the person behind them. 60% of the people responsible for the large incidents have a domestic violence history or the act itself was DV. And this is a confirmed connection. This is something that is really underreported. The real numbers are going to be much higher. That's your key. That's your thread. You add being mean to animals in with this, and you are knocking out the overwhelming majority of these incidents. And it's something that can be done now, right now, this minute. It can happen. It's not something that's going to take centuries to enact. Now, I know somebody on the pro-gun side right now saying, well, there's already a law. No, there's not. There's a law that says that it impacts this, but it doesn't, as evidenced by the fact that 60% have a connection. That shows you that it doesn't work because it has tons of loopholes. The way it's written, it doesn't do any good. The loopholes are there, some people would say, because of the prevalence of domestic violence in law enforcement, and maybe that has something to do with it. But what we do know is that they exist. The boyfriend loophole, there are tons that make that amendment worthless. It doesn't do anything. That's your key. That's where your legislation needs to be. First off, it's super easy to package. When you're talking about the right wing, right? Think about how easy it would be if you got out there and said, hey, we want to take guns away from wife beaters. They'll be all over it. And then you can drag those NRA-owned senators up there and ask them, hey, why are you going out of your way to defend, this particular demographic of people who not only did this thing, but also are responsible for 60% of these incidents? This is something that is politically viable. It can get through, and it'll be effective. I don't know what more you want. That's your solution. That's your route to go. It'll work. And it'll move forward. A lot of this stuff right now, where it's the same conversation I have seen over and over again. Talking about magazine size, talking about what qualifies as an assault weapon, none of it matters. None of it matters. What matters is the person behind it. And that person has some pretty specific markers. And it's relatively easy to close the loopholes. That's the route you need to go. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.